Welcome back, grade 12s. Yes, we are busy with the section on bank reconciliation statements, and we're doing quite a bit of information, but don't worry. What we're going to be doing is we'll finish the segment, and in the last segment, we'll do a recap of all the entries so that you have a clear understanding of them. Right. Post-dated checks that have been issued. Now, what has happened? We have issued a post-dated check. In other words, there is no way that the person that we have given the check to can cash the check. So therefore, what's going to happen? It is in our books. It does not appear in the bank statement. Therefore, it's going to appear in my bank reconciliation statement as debit outstanding checks. Got that? Brilliant. Next one. Post-dated checks that are received. If we receive a post-dated check, what do? Remember, in terms of our records, there's no entry, but a post-dated check will be entered into a post-dated check register, right? And then on the date that the check becomes negotiable, in other words, on the date when we can now go and deposit that check, we will then make the necessary entries. But on receipt of a post-dated check, we make no entry. Got it? Brilliant. Next, we come to errors in our cash payments journal. Now, be careful with this one here. You got to identify the error, and you got to know exactly what do we do with it. If the amount in my cash payments journal is higher than the original check. Got it? If the amount in my cash payments journal is higher than the original check, that means that this entry is in my cash payments journal, but there's too much an amount in my cash payments journal. As a result of which, what am I going to do? I'm going to now have to make an entry in my cash receipts journal. That's where I'm going to make the entry. Let me just pick up my pen. There. That's where I'm going to make my entry. What happens? When the amount is too great. But if the amount in the cash payments journal is lower than the original check, then obviously I'm going to have to make a supplementary entry. I have to make another entry, and this one applies to that one there, guys. Watch that carefully, right? Although the two ticks are together, clearly understand that the first one is for an amount in the CPJ which is higher than the original check. That means there's too much in your CPJ. Make an entry with a difference in your cash receipts journal. Got that? Okay, and the second one is the amount in your cash payments journal is lower than the original check. That means the amount is too small. The error in your cash payments journal is too small. What are we going to do? We now make an entry with the difference. Where? In my cash payments journal. Got that? Brilliant. Errors on my bank statement. What are the possible errors that can happen on my bank statement? One, the amount is incorrectly debited. Okay? If the amount is incorrectly debited, then clearly you can see that in your bank recon, you're going to have to credit that amount. Clear? So if the amount is incorrectly debited in your bank statement, you're going to have to credit the incorrect entry made by the bank. By the same token, if we look at an amount incorrectly credited, then what are you going to do? Then again, you go into your bank recon, and this time you debit the incorrect credit. Okay, so let's look at these two errors once again. In my bank statement, if there's an amount that appears incorrectly on the debit side, where am I going to correct it? Obviously, the bank has made an error, so I will have to correct it in my bank reconciliation statement in the credit column. That's right. Why? They debited you incorrectly. To balance it off, I will have to credit that amount. Secondly, if the amount is incorrectly credited, what am I going to have to do? I'm going to now have to debit that amount. So clearly you can see why I either make an incorrect debit or an incorrect credit. And that's where I'm going to use my bank reconciliation to do what? To make the necessary corrections. To illustrate by an example, if in the bank account, you find in your bank statement, when we're comparing it to our bank account, that in the debit column, there's a check appearing there, check number 123, that was drawn by somebody else. That means the bank incorrectly debited you. How are you going to correct it? By making a corresponding credit entry in your bank reconciliation statement. And if you found an incorrect credit in the bank statement, how are you going to correct it? By correcting it in your bank reconciliation statement by saying debit amount incorrectly credited. Okay, so what we've done now is we've gone through all the examples, and stay with us. Why? Because in our final segment, we're going to summarize all of these transactions for you so that you have a clear picture of the bank reconciliation statements. Stay with us. Back in a jiffy.